Pleasant afternoon to all of our viewers. We are happy to have you again with us this Sunday. We apologize for our late start. We do hope that you enjoy what we have to bring to you today. Here with me today are some of our own Vincentian bosses, our Vincentian entrepreneurs, and we will be giving you much food for thought as promised. First of all, let me say thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Digicel. Feel free to check them out for all your mobile and internet needs. Thank you to Audience Cosmetics and Beauty Salon. Thank you to District Stairs, St. Vincent Brewery Limited, and of course, Asworth News Network and IKTV. You are joining us and you are viewing from Asworth News Network Facebook page and channel 112. I am going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves. We have bosses, business managers, business owners, go-getters with us. And I'm just going to ask them to give a little background, tell us about their business background, what field they work in, or what fields they work in, because we have some here who are in many areas. So they're going to tell us just a little about themselves. Mr. Romain David, Miss Kimia Glasgow, Mr. Rayon Primus, also known as Madzat, and I was given permission to refer to him as Madzat, Mr. Storm Gonzalez, and Miss Shafia London. Welcome, panelists. I'm happy to have you. Thank you for coming. So, Mr. David, just take us away. Tell us about your business background. What do you work and do? What are you like as a businessman?
All right. So, good afternoon, everybody who is listening and watching via Facebook and IKTV. So my businesses are. Did I introduce myself?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So my businesses are BMX. BMX is an online application. For those who are familiar with Uber, it's Uber-like, where you download the application, you sign up. You can sign up as a driver or rider, and if you're a rider, you can book a ride, and then you pay your fare after. I'm also a photographer and a videographer, and it's been going good for the past year since I've recently finished studying in Trinidad. So I'll get back to it later. Yeah.
Thank you. Miss Glasgow?
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. My name is Kimia Glasgow. I am Hi, I'm Kimia Glasgow. I am a creative entrepreneur. I'm primarily a fashion designer. I operate in the sustainable fashion space, which means that I try to work with creative elements that are generally good for the environment, because a lot of people don't know fashion is actually one of the worst industries for the global environment. It is second only to the oil industry in terms of the damage that it does to the environment. So I have always worked with, sustainable and organic fabrics in what I do, but I'm moving further and further in that way, in terms of being a good citizen. But I also do things like I consider myself fashion and lifestyle, so it's clothing, accessories, home goods, and fragrance. No.
All right, wonderful. That's such a beautiful combination. Shafia, can you tell us about yourself and your business background?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I guess you can say that I am a triple type entrepreneur. I'm an owner of small businesses, and also I am a senior executive at a large company where entrepreneurship is just as critical. And also, I guess what I'm most proud of is I'm also a social entrepreneur. So that is my background. In terms of large company, I manage St. Vincent Brewery Limited, which most persons would recognize for all the beverages that we enjoy and we are so proud of as Vincentians, such as Highroom Bear, which is a sponsor, by the way. And a social entrepreneur in that I've been dedicating in the last few months and hope to do so in the future, to really working with the community and giving back, and part of my role in the Rotary Club of St. Vincent and the Rotary Club in general, the Rotary family. And as I mentioned, a small business entrepreneur because of the numerous businesses I have investments in and also own and operate.
Wonderful. That's quite a dynamic background. Thank you, Shafia. Madzat.
Good afternoon to everybody watching. Special good afternoon to Shafia and the rest of the panel. It's an honor to be here amongst my peers, older and younger, and those who I admired even before getting into the business. My good friend Kimia. To put it shortly and truly, I'm in the business of businesses. That's the best way I could round it up for now, because I don't think that I have any limit to what kind of business I can get into, as long as it's aligned with my values.
Right.
I'm good. I I have a drink posse and a peanut line. Uh, I have a partnership, the Smooth Juice Bar, which is myself and Fitzy, like businessman of many years experience, and that's basically where I am going right now. You know what I mean? If today anyone want to start a business and looking for partnership, looking for a venture capitalist, an angel investor, then call me. I'm in the business of businesses.
All right. So we understand that you spread your wings and fly.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Star Gonzalez, tell us about your background.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with my peers as well. My name is Storm Gonzalez. I'm, let's call it a serial entrepreneur. I'm into different things, but what I'm most known for, I have a marketing company, Go Getter Marketing. I also have a real estate company, Storm Gonzalez Estates, and most recently, I have launched a real estate development, the sales for a real estate development in Beckway. It's called One Beckway, also known as Bitcoin Island. So yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. So we have entrepreneurs here with us from a range of backgrounds. We have fashion industry, we have entertainment, we have food and beverages, we have resorts, apartments, we have information technology, and generally business, because we have persons here who are willing to invest and to become a part of your business to help you become an entrepreneur and to guide you along the way. So today we will be discussing BOSS, and we've made our own acronym to it, and it is busy with opportunities, struggles, and success. And before we jump into the BOSS aspect of it, I'm going to ask the panelists here today, is the ultimate goal of entrepreneurship making money? Is it all about making money? If not, what led you to it? What made you decide that you want to start a business or you want to get involved in whatever business you're a part of?
Well, for me, I like to serve people.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I started BMX was because I realized there's a transportation, I would say, I don't want to say crisis in St. Vincent, but at like after 8, you can't get transportation in St. Vincent. So I wanted to tap into that market. Yeah, so I just want to serve people.
Right, so you're all about service.
Yeah, service and making
Service and making money. All right, Ms. Pascal, what about you? Is it about making money?
I think, well, being a creative person, you kind of want to make, I think of myself primarily as an artist first.
Yeah.
So as an artist, you kind of want to make your statements to the world, and my medium generally is clothing. I think a lot of people, because we produce clothes, people think you're kind of just like a glorified dressmaker, but they don't understand, like, for example, I try to talk about like our Caribbean history through my clothing. I do a lot of contrast things, like hard and soft elements together. Like for me, like the way my brain works, like I can take concepts that look like they have nothing to do with each other and sort of pull them together and get people to understand, African, the way that Africa is, and the philosophy of being an African and European, they seem kind of to be a culture clash, but yet here in the Caribbean, it works kind of perfectly for us.
Yeah.
So it's about getting people to think of things like on a deeper level. So for me, it's like trying to get messages out there much the way an artist does.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in terms of being an entrepreneur, that other side of myself, it was also about financial independence, about sustainability, about not being dependent on a job, on being a job provider, as opposed to looking for a job and always feeling like I had something, a different perspective. I'm happy Shafia mentioned social entrepreneurship. That is like the next thing that's coming. Well, it's already here in business. Instead of you being a for-profit business or just a charity, there is a commingling of that thing where you're making profit, but at the same time, you're making sure that the values that run your company are also about making sure that you're developing people at the same time. So that, I have a friend, she runs a business in Jamaica, and she's an engineer trained at MIT, brilliant woman. got into a car accident, and when she's lying on the side of the road, practically dying, decides that she wants to employ 100 marginalized people. So she hires the hearing impaired, the sight impaired, to be her beekeepers in her honey making business. And I'm like, that's the kind of direction that we need to be going in, not just thinking only about, the small whys, but also the big whys of why we do business as well.
Right. So from you, I gather there's a threefold element because you have your passion coming through where you communicate our heritage, you communicate stories, you express yourself through your passion, and then you have that level of humanity where you try to develop people and you try to develop the environment, and then there's the aspect of making money.
You have to, otherwise, how can you survive? If you're not making a profit, you're not in business.
Right. Wonderful. Is it about making money for you?
It's more than money. It's profit, because if you make money, it can be at a loss. So yes, entrepreneurship primarily is about making a profit. You need to generate a profit, but there is a sense of joy and accomplishment that comes with that. So it's yes, the end goal is to make the profit because you want to make sure whatever effort you're putting in that is worth the while. But at the same time, there is a sense of there's the innovation, the risk taking, the part of being an indispensable part of building a nation, of helping a country and an economy to compete globally. It does have all of those attributes that make it really interesting. And yes, the ultimate goal is to make a profit, but you have to enjoy that entire journey, the risk taking, the discovery, the innovation that comes with it. And of course, as I mentioned, the contribution that you're making to your country and to global marketplace, as a matter of fact. So in a nutshell, if you have the will, the determination to go through that journey, more than likely the end result will come, which is to make a profit.
Right. So there's fulfillment, and it isn't just fulfillment of the pocket, but of your entire being where you cater to the psychological, that willpower, and the human development that you seek to achieve. Right, Chafia?
Yes, and certainly, and just making a meaningful contribution to society, by
Yes.
earning an income for yourself, but also helping others to earn an income, because obviously you have employees who will rely on you and who therefore now become more independent financially. So it's you're part of a bigger cycle, and it's really interesting, and it's also quite rewarding.
Sounds great. Storm, what about you?
So the first thing that, let's say, sparked my interest in entrepreneurship was the want to live how should I put it? To be free,
Right.
you know. By that I mean, choosing my own hours, by deciding what business I want to get into. And I like to choose the businesses that once they are successful, they are naturally provide a benefit to, wider society, whether it be in employment, tax revenue, giving opportunities to other entrepreneurs. I always like to be a part of businesses that can help, grow everyone around me. And, there's that saying, a rising tide,
Right.
all ships rise on a rising tide. So that was basically my first inspiration for getting into business. And that's why I'm still in it, because, I think that's just the thing that attracts me the most, is being able to decide my own future, and be independent. I think that's the strongest reason.
So for you, there's great emphasis of basically being your own captain and navigating your journey while developing others and while creating opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Matat, is it about making money for you?
Well, I want to just what Shafi had mentioned earlier on about it's not just about making money, it's about making profit. I could be comfortable not making profit as long as I'm paying myself. Because you can pay yourself, and at the end of the day, all the expenses including pay yourself,
Right.
and you're not making a profit, right? You're not making a loss,
Okay.
right? Once I'm able to pay myself, I'm good, right? Because that's one of the things you got to do in business. You got to learn how to pay yourself.
Okay.
from the business. But me getting into business, I want to answer that because me getting into business is a weird story.
Let's hear the story.
It happened when I was a child, and I realized that I would not be able to work for anybody. My mother helped me to realize that in an interesting, painful way. She sent me to the kitchen to bring her two biscuits. She said, pass me two biscuits. And I brought her two biscuits, 1, 2. And she beat me. And she was like, you are too exact. Because I tell you two biscuits, that doesn't mean I mean two biscuits. I mean bring me some biscuit. That's how I know I couldn't follow instructions.
Oh.
That's how I know that me following instructions is going to work out in this life.
Okay.
So that was, I've never had a day job in my life. I mean, from school, I left school slightly disappointed. I mean, I got my CXC subject, but I was slightly disappointed because I got subjects that I had no interest in.
Okay.
I did science because the stupid education system at the time decided the brightest students will do science subject.
Oh,
Even
so you were the brightest
I
student.
wanted to do business.
Okay.
I wanted to do POB and POA and those things.
Right.
I ended up doing physics and chemistry and agriculture science and geography, those things.
Right.
But I applied myself, got them, and then that was the end of it. Left school, pursued my music career, even when I was in school, music all the way until now, and then I'm now spreading my wings.
So you've always been your own boss?
I always been my own boss, and my biggest business is Mansat.
All right. So you've heard about the brands of from our panelists, whether they're managing businesses that are not owned by them or whether they're managing their own businesses. Now we'll get it straight into the acronym BOSS, and we're going to talk about the busyness of an entrepreneur. Now, when a lot of people hear about being a boss, they think of, free time, I get to do what I want. Is it really so? What's it like in terms of your playtime, your rest time, your work time?
I like how Storm said the reason why he got into it was so he could choose his own hours. And yes, that's why I think a lot of us do it. But while you're doing the journey, the hours kind of choose you as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
And if you're really into being an entrepreneur, you would go and just never stop.
Wow.
You would go until, my best time to work is probably 1 in the morning.
Okay.
Phone's not ringing, phone's not being beep, beep, beep. Nobody's like trying to grab your attention. You can just sit there and get like a lot of stuff done. Like I'm more of a night person than a morning person. Right. And I find, of course, when your pace is kind of dictated by other people during the course of the day. For me, I work best in the evening because my energy is high and all of that. And like when I leave here, I'm going back to do some work. And a couple of nights this week, I was up until 2, 3 in the morning getting some work done. So somebody said to me last year, enjoy the journey, enjoy even the pitfalls, because I could tell you in one day, something really, really horrible is going to happen and something really excellent is going to happen in the space of like a couple hours as an entrepreneur. It's like you're out in a fire, but you're also going like something you've been working on for a long time is coming through and you're seeing the progress. So, for me, yes, it has flexibility to it. You can choose, but I find like as I've matured in it a little bit, I don't understand like how to structure my time a little bit better.
Right.
That you actually have to structure that time off, structure that work time, because you could just do all of this and none of that. So it's about really trying to be as structured as possible and also structuring time to recoup and recover and all of those things. Otherwise, you're not really going to be good for yourself to get the things done in the first place.
Right. And you mentioned a number of factors that made me curious. How do you manage taking care of your job while taking care of your body, your mental health and your physical health?
Well, this is why a lot of entrepreneurs are probably not in the best of health if they're not that thusly inclined, because there's some people, they factor that in. I could tell you, like, the pandemic, I gave my body and soul over to my business as opposed to my health. Wow. And I'm now trying to reverse those effects. A lot of people find themselves in that sphere. There's an entrepreneurial guru called Stelly FT, and he talks about the happy entrepreneur. Right. And how he went through this journey of being exceptionally miserable because he was a tech entrepreneur. He was always launching new sites, new apps, new everything. And he gave his entire mental, financial, everything to the business. Wow. And then he found himself without electricity, with his family visiting him. Like, they cut him off while his family was visiting him. and he had no electricity, sleeping on the couch, the place is cold, and he was like, I'm miserable because I somehow haven't mapped things properly, and his goal is to get entrepreneurs to be happy while they're building their businesses, because we do struggle through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of find a way to enjoy your journey, even when it's kind of going like this, then it goes like that, and lots of stuff happens.
All right, so that's some me then. And Storm, would you like to add to that while telling us how do you balance your playtime, your work time, your rest time?
I'm an ideas person.
Okay.
My mind is bursting with ideas. Every day I come up with a new idea.
Even when you want to sleep.
Sometimes I can't sleep because of that.
Yeah.
And my mind's always working on things. So I'll be looking at the news, or I'll be, something random, and then an idea will hit me from what I'm looking at. So I get inspiration from everything around me. And what that causes is this new idea. I have to try it. I start obsessing about it in the back of my mind.
Right.
My main business is running, but I'm already thinking what I'm going to be doing.
How to get this new one on board.
Exactly. So that keeps me pretty occupied. But also I have to kind of hone that in a bit, because I could get too distracted with the new idea, without putting any emphasis on the current idea. So I guess I have to. That dictates, as Kimia said, the hours. Although once you get to a certain stage, like, I always try to reward myself.
Yeah.
If I'm doing okay, things are going the way I want it to, which doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
I make a point of rewarding myself,
Okay.
whether it's going on a trip, or hanging out with friends, or sitting down and reading a book that I've meant to read for a while, because I think that's also a very important thing in entrepreneurship. You have to keep on learning and reading, and the most successful entrepreneurs read and consume information. And now with the advent of YouTube, a lot of that is audio visual.
Yes.
Many people might not know, but I'm dyslexic.
Oh.
So my attention span is very short, and reading, especially when I was younger, I did manage to overcome it in my later years, but I am more audiovisual.
Okay.
So I think that's good as well. Go on YouTube, you find out, or Instagram. So the social media isn't all negative. There are some positives
to
it.
Course.
Audiobooks, so that's what I kind of do in my downtime as well. But I make a point, and everyone should, even if you're not in business, it's good to have some time to just decompress and relax. If you think better that way.
If at any point you're feeling ill, your body's not feeling well, or even your cognition, you're overloaded and all of that, but you have a deadline to meet, what would you prioritize?
At this stage where I am, I would prioritize the deadline.
Okay.
I'll be honest, you have to make sacrifices.
Right.
Sadly, your body does sacrifice sometimes. Your mental health, you might have to sacrifice sometimes to a point. Right. I'm not saying damage yourself, but sometimes when for instance, I would not be feeling too well sometimes, that someone calls me, they want to take a look at a property that I'm showing, and I would really just want to put it off, but you just have to do it. There's no excuses at the end of the day. And that's the thing about an entrepreneur as well. You have no one to blame but yourself, really. You are the ultimate, you're the responsible person. It's your business, whether it succeeds or fails. So
you have to go above and beyond for your business.
Definitely.
All right. Shafia, what's it like for you in terms of that schedule, that busyness, your rest time, your playtime, even being a mom? How do you do it?
I think it's important to always have work-life balance. My schedule is extremely hectic. I probably work 24 hours, but in that 24 hours, I have dedicated time for family and for myself. So you have to make the effort to actually focus on yourself, because you are a vessel and you can't keep pouring from it and pouring into other things, into business and, as I mentioned, social activities, and not refill that vessel. So family creates that refill for me, and my own time, get to
Right.
spa, to get dressed, go to the gym. I i always ensure that I find time for that. And then I have two boys, which just saying that alone is tiring. But they
I
keep
can
me
imagine.
they keep me energetic, and they just keep you going and keep you motivated, because ultimately I say a generation has to do it for the one before. So all of this
Yeah.
effort that I put into the effort I put into the work in the big business entrepreneurship, if you want to call it that, is for them. The effort I put into my own businesses, it's for them. And so I have to enjoy the moments with them, so that they could appreciate not just the hard work, but they could appreciate the moments that they spend with me as well. So it's a balance. Balance is important. The most important thing in life is balance. You have to find the balance no matter what.
Right. And I can assume, reasonably assume, that when you also manage a brand of drinks that make you feel cool and calm at the end of the day, holding your own is one of the things that help you also to to recoup and to recuperate.
As the illegitimate businessmen might say, you try not to use your product too much, but you
Right.
definitely endorse it and you make sure you enjoy it every now and then. So yes, every now and then you need a beer to cool your head.
Of course. Madzad, what's it like for you, especially since you've been doing this since a little boy? How do you manage?
But first of all, I want to say nice plug. Um, the good thing, as I said, my main business is Mabsat,
Right.
and that business is in the business of fun.
Okay.
So when it's time for fun time, and the other business, get rest aside for a while, I'm now in the business of fun. So my hard work is fun. I really enjoy. Is the happiest place for me is on a stage. If I
Right.
have flu, put me on a stage, problem solved.
Okay.
If I'm tired, put me on a stage, problem solved. I've never one day said I am so tired I don't want to go on the stage.
Wow.
You know what I mean? No matter how tired I am, wait me put me on the stage, I'm good to go. I can go for hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Even at this age, which is none of buildings. But that but I have I don't schedule playtime. So whenever I feel like playing, I just play. I don't have it. Okay, you're gonna do this tomorrow. I'm very spontaneous. That much I know. That's one reason why I know I couldn't have a
Go
day
up with
job
it.
either,
Right.
because I'm too spontaneous to have a day job. If I get up today and say, what am I gonna do today, and I start the day and I make it up as I go along.
Okay.
That kind of way. Um, I want to just jump in when Kim talk about the hours.
Right.
2 3 o'clock in the morning
It's her,
is
her
the
favorite.
best
Right.
for entrepreneurs, but not if you're in the farming business, eh? Because
True.
in the farming business is hot sun,
Yeah.
right? Because when the sun goes down, unless you have a greenhouse with light, you know. But as I say, playtime, my playtime, I still find time to do other things that I'm not on stage. I go to the beach every now and again. I hang out with my friends. I take long drives in the country.
Right. Why
But
don't you come to the leeward side as well?
I really want to.
Okay.
But I think I have a bias to the countryside because I have a lot of friends in the countryside.
Okay.
And one of the best things for me to do, most people may not know this, but I'm an introvert, and I don't do large crowds, even though I'm an entertainer. When I'm off the stage, I'm kind of like
So you
stages
won't be in the crowd at Soca Monarch. You'd just be on the stage.
on the stage, way back in the stand or something, watching the show
Okay,
until it's my
interesting.
time. But one of my favorite things to do, especially on Sunday like today, I will drive to the country and make stop in different villages and visit friends and families along the
Right.
way and eat and drink and have a time all the way to Fancy and back.
And you enjoy that.
Enjoy is an understatement.
Right.
That's what I love to do. And I come down from the country as if I went to the mountain.
Wow.
With
So
my
being
sack of potato and this. That's what I do on a Sunday mainly.
But that sounds good, and it keeps you fit too.
Of course.
So being such a spontaneous person, you're impulsive. We would describe you as that. How did the pandemic affect you, especially since you love being on a stage and you haven't been on a stage for a while?
Well, how it affect me? Well, I will say this, that this came at a time when I wasn't that busy in the Madzart part of my life.
Right.
So I believe it kind of didn't hit me as hard as it hit some other artists, who were at their peak,
Right.
busy traveling every weekend and stuff. At this stage in my career, I was not that busy.
Okay.
I am more busy recording because I love to record too, and mixing other projects for other artists. So I kind of just continue what I was doing in the studio because I have my studio at home.
Right.
I mix my music, I mix other artists' music for Magical and Tandre and Dimes and the
Upcoming,
Pixel.
right.
I work on projects with a lot of these guys. So I do that, and I'm still doing that. So I'm still doing my part in the music business. Right. So
It hasn't taken away too much.
No, because I'm still doing. I still feel like there's just the stage part, that kind of absent for a while.
Yeah.
But when it come back.
Right, got you. Romain, what about you? Your balance, your work time, your play time, your rest time.
Well, for me, it's been, I would say, hard, but fun, because BMX is something that I love to do. But when it comes to scheduling, because BMX is an app, right? And the way how I want it to go is that people could book a ride at any hour of the day.
Yeah.
And I have to go because I love to serve people,
Okay.
And sometimes like I will wake up and just get tired and just watching the mirror and say, boy, all this just so then, but that's how to keep yourself motivated, because there's a lot of things you have to find, like motivation. Startup capital could be very, very hard as well. I'm not married. I don't have children and them kind of things. So in between, I could find time for fun,
Right.
but I try not to do it too much, because I feel somehow in my head I feel like I have a deadline to meet.
Right.
Because I want to be very, very successful. I want a house and all them kind of things.
You want to own stuff.
And
Yeah. I want to own stuff. So like BMX is hard, but I love it because I know one day the hard work will pay off. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Definitely. And before we take a break, we're just going to talk about making that time out to give back. How important is corporate responsibility? You're busy with accomplishing your own goals, meeting your own deadlines. But how important is it to take at least a day off or a half day to give back to the community, the environment, a poor person, somebody in need? How important is that to you, Matzat?
Why me? We just had the option of the last free, and I think I'm gonna just take it from there, because that is an event that from the night of the evacuation, not before we even have the first eruption, from the moment the evacuation was ordered, myself, I start visiting shelters and see how things going, assisted with getting people. That was me as Madzart, Ray and Primus.
Right.
And then I realized that I had friends with the same heart who was volunteering their own time and their vehicle and gas, evacuating people and getting them out. And then that turned into, the eruption happened, and then my business, Smooth Juice Bar, which is me and my business partner business, became a small hub for supplies. And then, but those things come so natural to me. I mean, when I started doing those things, I wasn't even doing them as a business doing this. Right? So that aside, the social responsibility of businesses, to me, is something that it's not even something you should question, because these are your customers.
Yeah.
I mean, as artists, as Rob said very early when we started the relief, he said, "Match that these people, these are our fans.
Yeah.
These are the people that have us where we are.
And they've supported you, so now you have to
It's
give
our
them that
time. It's our
support.
time to make sure that they are okay.
Right.
I mean, so it's just something that just supposed to happen. You shouldn't even have to ask. A matter of fact, businesses should just have a budget put aside for when the time comes.
Yeah.
And I think that's I am new to business. As I say, my academic training is science,
Right.
but I'm new to business. But I think that's what most businesses will normally do it at, if not all of a particular portion of their profits.
Right. Storm, do you agree that businesses should set aside some form of finance to give back?
Definitely, I think that culture of giving is something that everyone should be a part of, and everyone should adopt that into their business plan. I think that especially the times we're going through now, as small developing island states, we are highly susceptible to natural disasters, and if it's not us, it's one of our sister islands, and I think we really have to build into our culture the idea of philanthropy and giving back. I think is extremely important, and I definitely I give you and everyone else who has been a part of the relief effort, Madzat, my respect for doing that.
Yeah.
I really think it's important.
Right. So, Shafia, both Storm and Madzat have expressed that it is really important to give back. And I believe that you agree based on what I've seen from you and your brands as well. Can you elaborate as to how important this is to you?
Well, certainly, as a business, you are a citizen, and that's how the law sort of sees you. You are a citizen of the society, and it is therefore your responsibility to be accountable for the society that you operate in. So, as a business, it is important that you must ensure. It is important that the society that you are in, that you're operating in, that you're helping the people in the society, you are protecting the vulnerable in the society, and if it is a critical part of what you do every day. And as I mentioned, for me, there are different levels, because for the big business like the brewery, for example, that is part of who we are. We have to ensure that we take care of the society as much as possible, because we are part of the society. So we have to have a positive
Correct.
influence on what is occurring in the society. So it means, giving donation to those who are in need, ensuring that our impact on the environment is minimized as much as possible, and to the extent that you avoid any negative impact on the environment. It means ensuring that you're working with your social partners in the interest of all concerned, and making sure that whatever you do, it's fair to the society. And as a small business person, or even as an individual, it also it is rewarding for you, but it also means that it is a fulfilling experience. You are helping those around you, and you are giving back, recognizing that the same people you're giving back to are the ones who form part of that environment that has created you and created the business that you operated in. So it's about your social and environmental concerns, that you need to be concerned about those at all times. So no matter your size as a business person, whether you're a large company, an individual, or small business, you have to remember that society that you live in, and ensure that you are making a valuable contribution to that society and not just taking from it. You have to find a way to create positive influences on the lives of those around you.
Thank you. Kimmy, I'm going to let you jump in and continue where Shafi left off, because you've both expressed sentiments in terms of protecting the environment and your responsibility. What more would you add to what Shafi has said?
Well, I think it's very important, like everybody else has said, that we are good corporate citizens. I think sometimes small businesses, SMEs, even people who are doing subsistence feel sometimes they're not a big company like the brewery, and maybe they can't contribute. But sometimes, you're a leader. You're a leader in your community. You have visibility. You can use that. I Yeah, I also do events, not large scale events, small to medium. And when I do my events, I always make sure part of what we make is donated. We've done, causes to help people with health issues and things like that. We did a lot of work in terms of the situation with the volcano. But one of the things that we were focusing on, even as the whole situation was unfolding, is working with people in the US in terms of the recovery plan. Because, in every crisis situation, everybody focuses on the front end. But a lot of people, when the whole thing starts to die down and the attention is gone, they forget about the back end. So we're actually, one of the things that my family and myself did, we focus a lot on like matchmaking. Sometimes people didn't know how to get in touch with Nemo or with Rotary or how to donate money, so just using a visibility platform, especially being in fashion, I think was important to me. I was able to leverage a small donation, relatively small, of clothing with one of Shafia's many causes. I think Shafia really did an amazing job of really highlighting what was happening, what was being done, and adding a lot of credibility to it as well too. And I mean, I could say that about everybody here. Storm hasn't said much, but I know that you did a lot, and you're not saying it, but you did. So I mean, I think everybody as an entrepreneur, it's kind of in your DNA, to look out for your people. And I just think like sometimes the crisis brings out the best in you.
Wow, that's a good way to put it. Roman, what would you say about that and discussion that we've been having?
That's true. I agree with Madza that we should, small businesses, big or large, we need to put aside something to give back to the community, and it don't necessarily mean we have to give money, because all of us have small businesses. I'm into the transportation service. Madzat is a co-owner of a juice business. Storm has a go-getter app, marketing and so on, and Kimia has a clothing line and so on. So from me, I could probably dedicate a month, a week, or something to give school children free ride to school. Okay. Things like that, because on mornings you see the amount of small children that have to walk to school and so on. And sometimes we have to put ourselves in the public's shoe. Like, what would I like if this person owned this business? If you understand, because I pay all the time. What am I getting back? Sometimes we could be selfish and want all the profit for ourselves and so on, and look at those things. But at the end of the day, we have to look out for the people who support us. Yeah. So
I definitely agree. And on behalf of Asbeth News Network and IKTV, we would like to say thank you to all of our panelists here who did an amazing job in helping our Vincentians during that time of need when we had our eruptions. And to all those who are watching, business owners, we thank you. At this point, we're going to take a break. As we're talking about social responsibility, we must admit that the sponsors gave us an opportunity to have this discussion and to give knowledge and to share the experiences of the journeys of those who are here with us. Thank you to District Stairs, thank you to St. Vincent Brewery Limited, to Digicel, Aldine's Cosmetics and Beauty Salon, and ANN and Asbel News. Let's take a break.
My Digicel presents Hit by a How-To. Here is how you can purchase a plan in the My Digicel app and get instant access to all of our apps. It's simple. Let me show you how. From your home screen, find the plans and bundles icon in the lower left corner of your screen. Tap it to see your available plans and bundles. You can choose between a Prime bundle with data and talk, or pick a plan from the Available Plans tab. Find the plan that's best for you, then hit confirm and you're ready to go. With your new plan, you may have access to more of our apps. Find them in the More from Digicel section and hit download for each of our new apps. You can also upgrade your current plan or bundle under the Active Plans section of your homepage. Excited to try it out? Download the My Digicel app today. My Digicel, better together.
El Eldorado Super Bingo. Bingo tickets play for opportunity to win US $25,000 on Sunday, 29th August 2021, beginning at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. 13 chances to win. 6 US $1,000 cash prizes. 4 $2,000 US cash prizes. 3,000 US cash prizes. And 1 5,000 US cash prize. Games will be played on www.bingomaker.com. Login and access information would be provided upon purchase. Proceeds from this event goes towards a worthy cause. August 29th, Eldorado Super Bingo.
Isn't it good to know that no matter where you are, you're covered? Covered by a company owned by Vincentians that understands your unique insurance needs. At Metrosint General Insurance Company, we've invested 50 years of service to guarantee that you have the peace of mind that you deserve. When it comes to motor vehicle, property, employer's liability, business insurance, and much more, we've got you covered. Our professional and friendly staff understands your needs and ensures you understand your options. Metrosint General Insurance Company.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Immediately, we are going to jump into the opportunities aspect of boss. Now, it is often said that your net worth is linked to your network. How important is networking? Storm, let's start with you.
I think that the importance of networking cannot be understated.
Right.
I think that a lot of entrepreneurs get frustrated sometimes because they're filled with talent, they have a great product or service, and they're just not getting to where they want to be.
Right.
A very important part is of business is networking for that reason, because without networking you can have the great product and everything, but you're not reaching the right people.
Right.
You know, I'm not just talking about the so-called gatekeepers, because I don't necessarily like the idea of a gatekeeper.
Right.
You know, someone who can decide whether or not to let your product into their store, or things like that. But the world is just like that.
Yeah.
If you're a product, you're trying to get into a big store like Walmart, you're gonna have to jump through some hoops. You just can't call up Walmart and say, hey, I have 10 cases of my whatever
Posse.
drink, you know. So you're gonna have to do a little bit more than that, reaching out to people. I think networking is also important because you can find mentors that way.
Right.
A lot of my success, or my mindset that led to my success, or my success in my own way,
Yeah.
was due to these mentors I had. I saw what they did, and I was lucky enough to have some mentors that were very successful in business on a global stage, and I learned many things from them, just from being in close proximity with them. And I would also reach out to them for information and advice.
Right.
Now, for those who don't have, people like that in their immediate family or their let's say their natural network,
Yeah.
the wonderful thing is, in the world today, we have the internet,
Social media.
we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram and TikTok and all these different things where we're just breaking down the barriers that previously were there. So I think that once you utilize those tools properly, you can do that. So I always tell people, don't be scared of networking, especially in real estate business. I have had people who, buy properties from me who I met, 4 years previously at some conference, or someone I just randomly met online, or made an inquiry. It's always good to keep those links alive, and networking, I can't understate that. I think is very important.
So do you think it's wise to network with persons who are in your immediate field, like other real estate agents, or do you think it can hinder your growth because they're seen as competition?
No, not necessarily. In the real estate industry, it's very competitive between agents. But that said, I work very well with many agents. I guess my main thing with that, when choosing a business partner, and that's usually how you collaborate with real estate agents, is that you have a co-listing. So you both list the same property and split the commissions.
Oh.
You want someone who has, high morals and ethics, in business. I think that's very important, because you could have someone who's very smart and hardworking, but may not have the ethics. So imagine partnering with someone who is smart, hardworking, but won't think twice about, pulling a fast one on you. Right? In the world of business, let's not sugarcoat it. That does exist.
Right.
But in terms of networking, yes, network with, if you're starting out in real estate, reach out to a successful agent and ask them their advice. How do they get their clients? What was their strategy starting off? It never hurts to ask. And no matter what business you're in or any profession you're in, it involves sales in some way. Even if you're, working in a company, you still have to, you may at some point have to put forward a proposal. You have to sell that proposal, why the company should go in a certain direction.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice in that case. Reach out to those who are more experienced than you. Again, read a lot, go on YouTube, and look at the interviews, the documentaries. But a lot of people also get too tied up into that. I think when you're starting out, I think you should really be researching and doing all of those things.
Right.
But after a point, you need to execute. You need to start doing.
Making connections, getting to know other people, selling your product.
Exactly.
Right. Matzad, how important is networking to you, and even mentorship?
Well, I want to pick up on where Storm left off, and he was saying something that I picked up watching up at one of my favorite shows, which is one of the shows that I happen to learn a lot of business from, which is a show called Shark Tank.
Okay.
And there's a guy in that show called Mark Cuban. I actually have his book and everything that, But when he mentioned sales, and one of the things that I pick up from that show is everybody is in sales. No matter what department you're working on in the business, sales, you're always selling. Now you talk about networking. Before I understand business, from the outside looking in, I used to wonder, why do banks and these companies give all these execs entertainment allowance? And then you realize why entertainment allowance is important. Because these guys need to go out and rub shoulders and meet people and bring business to the business. Right? In the music business, it's better networking. And I'm going to use Skinny, for example. That's our biggest
Skinny
artist in
Chickens.
Simeon. Networking. I mean, he got there by working with Marshall and Bungie and Busy. That's what networking is. You bring the brands together, right? In order, when he was mentioning the stores, like Posse, for example, is in a lot of stores.
Right.
I couldn't get that Posse the stores them that are in right now that fast, because when that business started, I knew very little about that. But I had somebody who worked in that business,
Right.
who managed the sales of Posse,
Okay.
who was already rubbing shoulders with the managers of these businesses,
Right.
and the so I say, big up Alicia one time. Sadly, she's who handle all that. I mean, as I say, her job is to get the drink on the shelf. My job is to get it off the shelf and in your stomach. Right?
Right.
But it's very, very important. But in the music business, networking is it. Because, and I mean, people might see it and give it bad words. They might call it stuff like pull string and bias and curry favor. But that's what is networking. You might have a big song, I might have a big song.
Right.
The promoter only have $1,000 left in the budget. Many promoter closer than roommate.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it happens. What do you do about it? You can sit down and complain. It's still gonna happen. You just gotta make sure that you know how to rub shoulders. I'm not saying to go and dash your morals aside. Once you know what you stand for, once you know that line that your values and your ethics, as Star mentioned.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I don't see a problem with those things in the music business.
Right.
You just gotta make sure you network too.
Yes. So, Shafia, we were talking about networking as an engine to get your business off the ground. And Madzat also mentioned, remaining, and Storm also said it, maintaining your ethics and your integrity while you network. How important is networking to you? And what would you say about boundaries while trying to network and trying to put your brand up there?
I quite like something that Madzat said, which is that people tend to put a negative connotation to networking. And interestingly, I find that more in St. Vincent than anywhere else. But I recently read an article, and one of the points that stood out to me is the person said, "It's not what you know, it's who you know." And it really struck me because I have come to realize over time that that is really true. I mean, when I was in a new university in the UK, for example, we had courses in networking. And as a Vincentian, I thought, how foolish is that? Why would I want to learn how to know people or how to be able to get things through people? But as you grow and as you mature, you recognize that that is actually your bridge. Who you know and the way that you operate with them becomes a critical part of your success. And yes, there must be ethical guidelines that you must adhere to in your interactions with people. So you don't sell your soul, you don't go about engaging in illegitimate activities, for example, just to prove a point or to get a success with a product or service that you're trying to sell. But at the same time, you have to build a strong network in order to actually get opportunities in business. And there are different ways that opportunities can come to you in business, and all of them rely on networking. For example, in business, you could plant your own opportunity and you have to nourish that. But the way for you to plant the opportunity often involves being in the right place, knowing the right people who would actually help you to nourish that opportunity. Being in business, another way you can get an opportunity is mere luck. But sometimes luck is coincidence of things lining up, which involves people who you know and the opportunities coming through those set people. So it's about not just luck out of the sky, but actually, I like to say the stars have lined up, but they would not line up if you weren't in the right place and knowing the right people. And also you could also talk about balance and going after opportunities. And again, it has to be through the persons around you. And when I say persons, I also mean different businesses as well. But it's really critical that in doing all of that, you have to have ethics and you have to understand how far you should go and could go. And understand as well that you don't use people to get what you want. It's about building sustainable and healthy relationships. But when we put a negative connotation to networking in our country, it saddens me, because that is actually the way most persons, most businesses globally have managed to really catapult forward. It's just knowing the right people at the right and being in the right place at the right time. So we have to continue to encourage persons even in business to talk to each other, so you could be functional. So let's say you have accountants, they can talk to each other, they could help share information with each other. Same with entrepreneurs. You have to build a culture of sharing and knowing and being able to access information together, because that one opportunity that you need to really take your business forward could be with someone. And again, it's not about using people, but about building strong, sustainable relationship and leveraging those relationships to pull your business forward.
Wonderful. Women, to add to what Shafi or Madzat or even Storm have said, how do you see networking, especially as a means of pushing your business forward and your brand?
Well, for me, I think it's, as everyone said, I think it's very important. But sometimes I get discouraged because right now I think most people are using social media to network with other people.
Right.
Sometimes I might message somebody and I get ignored.
That's a part of it.
Yeah, that happened to me multiple times. But you have to know what you believe in and just keep pushing that. And I like what Shafia said, that the whole idea of networking in Siemens is, I don't know, it just weird. You understand? Because people have this thing, oh, if I network with this person, they might thief my idea and all them kind of thing there. So it's like, personally, I don't know how we are going to help people to understand the importance of networking, because I studied in Trinidad and I know for sure if I go Trinidad next week, I could get a job because a photography, a videography job, because I know someone in Trinidad. So yeah, networking is very important. Yeah.
Kimmy, let's hear from you on this note.
Well, everybody has such amazing gems, and I mean, I could take this from so many different angles. I mean, for me, I'm quite self-critical when it comes to the whole situation with networking, because I think I have a very strong network. Because even though Shafia laughs at me, I call myself an introverted extrovert. I am very gregarious and outgoing, but I mean, I'm internally and originally a very shy person. So when I get to talk to people, it's a very one-to-one experience, and I feel like I create deep connections with people because of it. But then I find, as a female entrepreneur, and this is kind of a weak area for some of us or many of us, how do you then leverage that for yourself and your business? Because I find like there are a lot of women, we are friends with people, or we like people, or we dislike people, and we don't effectively use our networks sometimes. I was but I did a 2-year program, a coaching program, and it was Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister. His wife has a nonprofit foundation where she has a ginormous coaching program teaching women how to be mentored and also how to mentor people. And it shows you sometimes where your weaknesses lie. There are a lot of people who try to approach you to mentor them, especially where I've reached in my career, and they expect you to do all the heavy lifting. I mean, when you're setting up a meeting with somebody you want to mentor, you don't make them do the work. You do all the work. You reach out to them, you make sure you have your agenda, you make sure you respect their time, and you try to give them something and find out what they need in order for them to give you information. Like right now, and I mean, I'm happy that everybody's talking about reading and about, listening to positive things that help you to grow. Right. And I'm a voracious reader and I love knowledge. I'm right now looking at The Richest Man in Babylon. Like I'm listening to that audiobook while I'm working. I mean, that is one of the most like I should have read this book like years ago. You know, mind just blown open. Like now I understand some things. And one of the things it talks about is getting advice from the right people. You know, I was in a course from Caribbean Export, and in that course, besides the network that was developed there, because it was 20 female entrepreneurs from around the Caribbean, heavy hitters from each territory, one of the things they taught us, you should have a board of directors, and that's part of your sphere of influence with your board of directors, even as a small business. And I was able to get a formal advisory board because of it. So along the way, like I started off thinking I was a great networker, and I'm learning that I'm still learning. And I think as Vincentians, it is something that we really need to work on. I have a very good friend. She's also in business. She knows who she is. I tell her, when you travel with a contingent of Vincentians for a conference or workshop, do not sit down all Vincentians together. Go and find somebody, look for a face that looks friendly or whatever, sit with that person. Every day that you go there, find somebody else to talk to and learn, meet people. Don't clique up. When it's lunchtime, don't go the same clannishness. We have a tendency that we're very clannish and we don't try to reach out. And that is a weakness for us as Vincentians. So that's how you kind of build networks. And it's not about you should really be interested in people if you're in business, you know. You should really. If you're not interested and you don't care and somebody comes talk to you and you're like, whatever, maybe business is not for you, because you should be in the people business. The sales business is the people business, you know. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of opportunities because I've formally done a lot of networking through a lot of the programs that I'm in, because the last 4 years has been for me a learning thing, especially now under the pandemic. Besides trying to survive, you're also supposed to be putting something in here and trying to ramp up yourself so when the pandemic goes away, you're ready to fly, you know. So you should be leveraging, you should be meeting people even online, you know. And I just feel like, you know, there are a lot of examples out there of young people approaching you and you still try to help, but they need to understand you don't have to. And people's time is their money. You know, so you have to realize that if you want to be part of the game, you also have to speak the language, try to, you know, and I mean, people will meet you halfway. People do want to give advice, you know, people do want to help. If you kind of make sure you package it properly and you come willing to put in some grunt work as well, too.
Such rich advice coming through from our panelists. And as we move swiftly along, straight through to our first S, which is struggle, we're going to talk about the personal struggles and national struggles. Matat, I'm going to start with you. Do you think that the government does enough to support entrepreneurs?
That's a question for start. Well, I don't know if I could answer the question fairly, and the reason why I can't answer the question fairly is because I am one of the hardest person to say I need help.
Okay.
So maybe help is there that I don't know about.
Right. So you can't fairly assess.
I cannot. I will not. I could say that I haven't had, and maybe the reason why I haven't had is because I haven't looked.
Right.
So I will not be able to answer the question fairly, in all honesty.
Okay.
Right.
Well, let's hear from Shafia. Shafia, as a Vincentian, do you think that our government does enough to help and support entrepreneurs?
I am sure as a government, the interest is there and it is probably a focus area. I do think there are some opportunities, and some of the opportunities for me is understanding the full value chain of entrepreneurship, but also ensuring that we have the right players to make sure all those parts are working. I sometimes worry that when we say government, we narrowly restrict the definition of government, and we forget that there are many players in what we refer to as government. And those players all have a role to play to ensuring that the system is working properly. So entrepreneurs, they promote economic growth in a country, and they're the ones that are most exposed to the economic policies and the laws that are framed by the government. And also they help in removing the disparities between the rich and the poor, because they have to adopt to whatever rules and regulation government frames, and government has to enforce those rules and regulations. What tends to happen is that if we start at the beginning, we have to seed ideas and concepts and encourage people to think creatively. I think there's an opportunity for us as a country to do that in a more meaningful way. How do we ensure that persons' ideas are protected? So, for example, how many persons really know how to protect their intellectual property functionally? How many persons can go tomorrow and say, I'm going to register not just my business but my idea, and protecting it regionally? I'm not sure that the information might be there, but it hasn't cascaded in a meaningful way. And that's why I say there are opportunities and there are gaps. And that's just the beginning.
Right.
As you go through that chain, that value chain of producing a product or service in a meaningful way that you could call a business, and I'm talking beyond a one-man operation now, I find that there are gaps. So, for example, I need financing. What are the available support systems? And I must congratulate the government for their recent project. I think it was called Prime. But I do
Prime
have
grants.
concerns with the how it's probably, I'm not sure, maybe I don't have the information, but how it's managed in terms of, okay, we have chosen these people, they have the business ideas, great, we're financing it. But who is ensuring that the business is sustainable? Who is monitoring these businesses? Who is their mentorship network where you assign a mentor to these persons to ensure that their businesses are running properly and that they can go to the next stage? Who is ensuring that the financing is being used in the right way? What is the next step for them? Because a lot of entrepreneurs actually suffer from not being able to move to the next stage, where you're too small, but you also can't get big enough because you don't have the right support structures around you. So there are, I mean, I could talk about this all day. There are many stages along the value chain where I think government, but not necessarily the policy makers only, but people in the public service, the persons who enforce whatever regulations we have, that do we really have a holistic view of what it takes to plant a business, grow a business, and get that business to blossom? I am not sure that there's a holistic approach. There are parts to it that are working. There's CED, there's National Development Foundation, there are parts, but they all seem quite insulated to me. It doesn't seem as though there's one body or entity ensuring that all these parts are working well. And that's probably my concern. But again, it could be lack of knowledge, which isn't a challenge because the information should be out there and cascaded to everybody, including myself. But I suspect there are opportunities. Like all things, there will always be opportunities. But I feel if there was focus and dedicated focus to the concept of business and growing business and making business independent, understanding the importance of business to a society, not just the economy, but the society on a whole, that there should be greater concentration of powers in that area. I feel as though there's a gap there, and it's something that we should look at as an opportunity as a government, but also as a people.
Wonderful. So, Romain, hearing from Shafia, we understand that there may be some really good framework and some really good ideas, put forward by the government. That support system created, the opportunity is there, but maybe there's, a little issue with either the implementation or, monitoring to ensure there's longevity with the entrepreneurs. Do you agree, or do you think more can be done to support business owners?
I agree. I agree. Two things I want to talk about is the prime grant and the tax, which is the import tax.
Okay.
Right? The prime grant, I found out about it when I was studying in Trinidad. And I thought it was a very, very brilliant idea.
Right.
it's the government is involved in it, but the Prime Grant has its own committee,
Right.
own directors and everything. But personally, I think it wasn't, the execution was very poor
Okay.
because you have to wait a while to know if you got accepted or not. And then there are people who sent in applications and never heard anything.
Okay.
Our people who have trust issues. Suppose I sent in a 30-page document of a really good idea, and that was it. I never heard anything about it. I don't know if somebody stole my idea or something like that. So the execution, I think, was very poor, and there was too much back and forth with the Prime Grant. Like, where was the money and all those kind of things. The next thing, the import tax. I think Shafia mentioned that the entrepreneurs are who could encourage sustainable development in the country and so on, right, and contribute to economic growth. But if, for example, I buy something online for $5, when it comes here, I can't just do the exchange rate and sell it back for the same price because the import taxes are so high. It's basically killing Vincentians, So me making a little bit of money, can't afford what the entrepreneurs are bringing into the country, because at the same time they have to do the exchange rate and they have to pay themselves and clear customs and all those things. So I think if the import taxes were better, well, would have suited the entrepreneurs better, then I guess the outcome would have been greater, yeah.
Okay, Kimmy, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I think it's a yin-yang situation, right? The entrepreneurial thrust is relatively new in St. Vincent. So you're finding that you're dealing with a bureaucracy where there are people who themselves have never dealt with the running of a business. They only understand the growth of a business from an academic point of view. So when you're talking to them about your struggles and what you need, sometimes they don't understand. But then you're also looking at a situation because of the same newness of entrepreneurialism. Entrepreneurs who, for example, I've been a Chamber of Commerce board member, and I know the struggle of recruiting people to join the Chamber of Commerce. And I mean, think about it. Government has to deal with every single one business person with your one need, with your one wanting to get some sort of waiver on taxation, you one alone, instead of coming together and making a sound and sane representation about what you need. Sometimes we also have to help ourselves, but we're also a victim of the newness of it. Shafia was saying that there are, and you also mentioned the Prime Grant. I'm a Prime Grant beneficiary. I would have loved to have gotten a little bit more, but I made do with what I had, and I invested it in developing my fragrance line and trying to push it out, and so on. So it was very helpful, and I've benefited from a lot of programs. There's CED, there's Invest SVG. There are a lot of programs on the ground that people maybe sometimes, I don't know if they're not aware of them, but there are things there to help with the development. But as Shafi was referring to, when you move from a particular stage into what they call the valley of shadow of death kind of part, where you start off and you're doing a little well, and then you're now going through that part where you're trying to scale and move to the next level. I mean, that's a precipice you're about to jump off, to get to another cliff. Yeah. And you could just drop right down in the middle there. And people need that hand holding. But I think at the same time, it has to be a partnership. And I think if we can get into that partnership mentality, that you do have to pay some amount of taxes. But if we pull together as entrepreneurs in whether it's different associations or things like the Chamber of Commerce, to try and lobby on behalf of ourselves to get the government to understand why you need this particular thing, like, the bottle levy, for example, for people who are doing agro-processing or, whatever the case might be, or fabric importation for the designers, because the designers have formed an association. Yeah, I mean, small membership. But then when you go to clear customs and you have to pay just like the person who just bought fabric on a whim, and then you're fussing, but then you don't join the association for us to lobby and say, well, we are creating employment and we are, that it kind of one hand has to wash the other, so that's kind of my take on it. We need help. We need the enabling environment for growth. And also people need to understand CARICOM it still needs to CARICOM. And we are a small island economy. But we also need to be ferocious about creating that enabling environment. Because entrepreneurs like ourselves, we can put St. Vincent on the map in a way that nobody can imagine. You have to have faith in entrepreneurs that we could outstrip all these other islands. We always think we're behind. We can be back here and looking and seeing all the mistakes that they're making, and we can go and all the good that they're doing and the things they're succeeding at and tweak it for ourselves. But the enabling environment has to be there.
Okay, so you spoke, you've mentioned a lot about collaboration, and I get that PR is important because there may be things in place that people don't know about, even some of the groups you mentioned. So, Stan, I'm going to allow you to jump in right here.
So, I would say I do think the government is helpful to entrepreneurs.
Right.
I think that entrepreneurs have to, let's say, learn the language. I think you mentioned that previously, exactly, of how to deal with the government. The government tells you every year what it wants for the next year in its budget, and where it will be spending money. And it also announces in that budget the tax incentives and things like that. So back to what Kimya said, I think it's also, and also what I said earlier, the buck stops with the entrepreneur. I understand entrepreneurs starting out, you may have to hold their hand a bit, but you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. No one's joining the organization. Everyone may have their issues, but you need to come. The government is dealing with everybody. Entrepreneurs need to come together and tell the government, because no government is going to get it 100% right. Tell the government exactly what we're looking for or what we need. That could make things easier. I think that we inherited a government structure. We're a former colony, and we inherited that government structure that I think is now outdated. I think that was very important, especially we're in 2021, is e-governance. A lot of the issues and the frustrations that entrepreneurs deal with, it's interacting with the government. Let's say the front office of the government could be, you're trying to get certain licenses, you're trying to incorporate a company, and all of these things, especially, for instance, incorporating a company, I think that's way too expensive. You don't need to be paying, I know the lawyers don't want to hear me say this, but you don't need to be paying thousands of dollars to lawyers to incorporate. Incorporating a company in the US or in the UK, it's a couple $100. It's cheaper than in St. Vincent by like a factor of 10. That's ridiculous because we have a much smaller pie. So I don't know, a little bit more emphasis needs to be placed on that, filing tax returns. I think what's the obligations imposed on small businesses cannot be the same imposed on a large business, like Digicel or Flow, because we then have to spend more resources that we may not necessarily have that could go towards product development, marketing, whatever else. I think it's just things like that. And back to my point about the government telling you what they want. The government right now, of St. Vincent, I should say, has one of the best tax regimes in the world. We don't realize that there's no capital gains tax. There is you don't pay tax on foreign income on your companies. So in other words, when I look at that, I say, okay, well, the government's telling me, go out, build something that one day you can then sell, and you sell it for $1 billion, and we're not even going to take a penny from you. There's zero capital gains tax. No tax on foreign sourced income. That shows me, well, you want me to export, so I should be thinking about the export business. Yes, the local, the domestic market is also an important market. I understand your point, Romain, about the fact that the import duties may be high, but we also live in a country where not the majority. I mean, I don't know the exact figures, but a lot of people don't pay tax. So you pay tax. You pay at the till. I was just about to say, but and you also pay at the port when you import things, and we need that money. As much as there's certain things that go at odds with our business. Like we wish that there was just zero taxes, but unfortunately we don't have, 1 billion barrels of oil sitting under Calico or somewhere. So I think we just need to pay attention. What's also very important is read the newspapers. Just as simple as that. All of these regional grants, Kimia, that you have received, they're advertised in the newspaper. Go online, Google, an amazing invention, type in Caribbean business grants, see what comes up. There's a lot of money that's just sitting there that's not being utilized. And then there's also, again, learning the language of applying for these grants. Kimmy, you're very successful at applying for these grants. Well, successful enough, I noticed it. I'm like, wow, she really has a knack for this. I wish I had the knack for that as well, because I have applied. I didn't apply for the prime grant, but I remember when I came back from university and I didn't have 2 cents to rub together. And instead of, I don't want to go to the parents and ask the folks for anything. I'm a very independent-minded person that way. I said, okay, let me apply for this CASET grant, and it took a long time. Didn't end up getting it, but it gave me an idea as to, and it was frustrating, So I understand when people go through those things. I just think that we need to remove the barriers to entry into certain markets, and I think we need to encourage businesses such as yours, Romain, that fix what I call a market failure. Why are the vans not working after 8 p.m.? They work after 8 p.m. We get the bars and the nightclubs get more business. Businesses can open later. My mother's in the restaurant business, which I help out in, and the transportation costs of carrying home staff. I mean, it's extremely expensive, thousands of dollars every month. That could be going elsewhere, So I would say we need to just remove the friction of interacting and communicating with the government. I think we as entrepreneurs have work to do on that, because we need to pay more attention to what's being put out to us. And also the government needs to also enter into the 21st century properly, and there are programs that I am aware of that are working towards e-governance and things. Again, once you read the newspaper and pay attention, you see these things and read these things. So I think once those two things come together, we will see a lot more prosperous SVG.
All right, so Storm, there's something else I want to ask you since you touched on it. But before, might I mention that since we're networking, BMX and the business you mentioned that your mom operates that need transportation, you could work something out.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, Storm, you touched on this legal framework. Can you tell young entrepreneurs what's the legal framework like when you're starting a new business? As somebody with a background in law, is it that complicated as people make it to make it out to be, or is it much simpler, the process?
No, I think it's simple. You could register a business name. I think that's the first step. You know, when you're moving from, and I would say even if you're doing a hobby business, register a business name. You know, as a sole proprietor, you go to SIPO, and I think you could do that for $250. Then as your business grows, you can then decide to incorporate. That's presently an expensive proposition. I think it's about $1,200 in fees. And then you have to go to
It's about 12, 15 around.
12 to $1,500, and then there are legal fees on top of that. If you engage a lawyer to fill out the form. I would say that what's very important is any idea I have, I start thinking of the business name, and I go on GoDaddy and I register the domain name. Right. Also, my name, or whatever your name is, you know, Romain, is it last name? Is it David? David. Go online and register romaindavid.com, you know, because as Madzat says, his main business is himself, right? And in his case, it's very, very true because he's an entertainer. But even if you're an entrepreneur, you never know one day that, you know, you may become a brand in your own right beyond the businesses you operate. You look at Mark Cuban, you know, he had, I think, AudioNet or one of those companies, tech companies. No one remembers that company anymore. Everybody remembers Mark Cuban. Everybody remembers Richard Branson. So that's an interesting way to protect your company brand and also your personal brand. Yeah, that's...
All right. So in the interest of time, we are just going to take our final comments from the panelists because I'm going to ask them a question. So we spoke about the struggle in terms of a national struggle and a personal struggle. I want you to tell us, how important is customer service? How would you remedy a situation where you're getting bad feedback, negative feedback about your brand? What would you do? And then you can flush straight into mentioning what has been your greatest success and give any success tip to any young person listening who wants to own a business. So Shafia, take it away for us.
All right. I think customer service is critical, of course. That is what your business is built on. It's the way you treat the people who use your products and services that will make them come back, that will make them stay, that will make them tell others about you. And so you need to make sure you protect that like an asset. One of the most important things is always remember it doesn't always have to be public. So you could reach out to persons privately if there's an issue with a product or service that you're supplying. You don't always have to respond publicly. And by planting your seeds, you could actually generate ambassadors for your brand and so on. But it starts with the culture that you have within your business. You have to encourage, you as a person have to be very much customer service oriented. I think Kimia said that. You know, if you own a business, it's about sales, it's about getting people to use your product and service, and you have to persuade them. So if you are anti-people, which some people are, it becomes more difficult. So even if you have to fake it until you make it, ensure that you let people know they could trust your product and service, that you look out for them, that you are in it with them, that if at the end of the day you are a social partner and not just there for profit. So it's a culture that you have to build within your own business and within yourself as an entrepreneur, and that culture would manifest itself at all of the levels where customers interact with your business. So the person answering your phone, if it's not you, is going to reflect that culture. Where you handle complaints is going to reflect that culture. And when there are abnormalities that are outside of that culture, what you have set up as a minimum customer service level for your business, you need to deal with it right away, because you don't control everything. So there might be that one employee who decides they don't care about your customers, it's not their business. Then they shouldn't be a part of your business, or you correct them immediately and ensure that they're aligning with your culture. So it's critical, customer service. You have to build a culture within yourself as an entrepreneur and make sure you manifest it as you expand throughout your business. I think you also asked, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, about your success and any advice that you'd like to give to a young person.
I think it's about my success is remaining open minded and always having positive people around you. And even if there's negativity, using that as stones to always question why not? Why can't I do something different? Why can't I do it different or find an opportunity in this? But you have to remain very open minded and know that every circumstance can be an opportunity and can be used for the benefit of yourself as an entrepreneur or the company with which you find yourself in. So be very
Yes.
open minded. Don't just think about what is before you. In the context of St. Vincent, one of the things I say is our market is small, and I think Storm mentioned it, domestic market is important, but we need to start thinking outside of that if we truly
Yeah.
want to grow our country, our economy, and really have a financial independence as a nation. We need to start thinking, how can we concentrate our efforts in particular industries as a people, and really hone our resources towards those and ensure that we are building those entrepreneurs, making them into successful businesses that are actually exporting. Because I think that is where the gold mine lies, actually going out into the international and regional markets and capitalizing on that. So for me, the success has been to remain open minded and to never limit yourself by the environment in which you find yourself in.
Wonderful. I agree. Kimia, can you tell me how do you remedy a situation where you have bad reviews on your product and then tell me about your success?
Well, I don't know so much about bad reviews, but I know about bad situations, like I recently did a pre-order sale for my line, trying to generate capital as well as trying to, sort of, it's almost a way of surveying people by discounting your product and trying to see en masse who's going to respond to like a particular product. And of course, when I'm ready to order, my supplier, who's never out of my fabric, suddenly is out. And then when they got it, the courier missed the time period to pick it up for me to get it in time. So I had delays, but communication with your customers is like top level. You keep them abreast of what's going on so that they will understand that, I mean, especially under this pandemic, things are not normal anymore. So you have to try and keep abreast and let people genuinely see that you're trying to meet your deadline. In terms of advice, Shafia and Storm, I love the fact that they're talking about export. And I mean, for me, that's kind of what is now termed like a blue ocean strategy. And it's like a new way of thinking about business. Like when you're in a small market that's highly competitive, that's the red ocean. It's the where we're bludgeoning each other to death to try and get that $1 because it's a hyper competitive market and everybody's kind of doing the same thing. Everybody's selling tamarind balls in a tray all in a line or selling the same product all in a line. But how are you going to take what's unique to you? How are you going to take a product, whether you're selling cakes or you're doing catering, how are you going to change the way that you deliver that service to the customer base? So like Romain's idea is like a perfect example of that. He's looking at the market and he's kind of trying to figure out where do I slot in that's different and I'm not going head to head with everybody else who is already providing a similar service. So I think people kind of need to start looking, from the eagle's eye view or from a 360 point of view. How can you offer something that's unique and also don't think of your market supremely only as the 108,000 people of St. Vincent. You have to look at the market being way beyond that and that your audience may be way beyond that. I would also say get to know your customer profile, like Google ideal customer profile or customer avatar and get to understand what that means, because a lot of people make the mistake of trying to sell to everybody. And really and truly, your ideal customer will help you sell to everybody by figuring it out. And I mean, just beyond that, don't give up. I mean, I'm somebody, the first micro business loan I got, couple $1,000s investment in fabric. They took my fabric and threw it overboard on its way from Trinidad because the ship was sinking and they needed to get rid of some stuff. And my thing was probably on top, uninsured, didn't get it back, had to figure it out. You're always dealing with stuff like you. Yes, that was like my first, like, what? Business. You cannot give up. You have to be resilient. You will go down in flames. Like my other half, he says, he calls me his little Marine because he's like, 1 minute you're on the ground, you're crying, and the next minute it's like, where's she gone? You're back at work, you're in your zone. You have to get like focused like an athlete when it comes to business. So those are my thoughts.
Romain, tell us your approach to customer service and any advice to a young person.
Well, an example was last year summer. When BMX was fresh, and like I hardly had drivers and so on. I was doing a party down in Lowman's side, right? And I had to do some drops from town to Lowman's and back and forth. So now after the party, I got couple drops and so on, and I promised one person, I was like, yeah, I'll come back for you now. Don't worry yourself. They're going down. They're stuck in some. I can't remember what caused the traffic. Got stuck in traffic and so on, and the person ended up having to catch a ride with somebody else, and so on. So, but instead of the person, they came to me and say, they was kind of disappointed, and I explained to them in a situation where it was only me that night, and so on and so on, and then I offered them a free ride, so
Right.
so and they were cool with that because they understood. I wish every customer understood like that. So you just have to believe in a brand, and just don't give up. I understand all opportunities will come, but just believe in a brand and don't give up.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Madzat, customer service is important to you as a humanitarian. Tell us about your approach to that, and what advice would you give to any young person who wants to own a business?
So I have a few things to say. Well, I want to just say this before going further. When Star mentioned about the website, I just want to announce that madzat.com is registered, actually been registered since 2015.
Yeah.
And of course, then all the other businesses /posse/ whatever. Customer service. Well, let me reflect on feathers. I am not a believer in the customer is always right.
Okay.
That is stupidness.
Tell us why.
I believe make your employees happy, you will have happy customers. That's my approach.
Okay.
Right? No customer ain't supposed to come and disrespect the employees because just they feel the customer is always right. Okay? So I don't subscribe to that. I'm not gonna. I mean, if the customer is right, then the customer is right.
Right.
When the customer is wrong, the customer need to know they're wrong. That's my view.
Fair enough.
Right? So look at it. But as a people person, you gotta know how to diffuse situation.
Yeah.
I mean, in for example, the smoothie business, there'll be situation where customer is not properly satisfied with a drink. They might not be happy with the greeting that they get from. You have to know how to diffuse the situation that everybody wins, right? They know one thing to it. Every situation gonna need its unique treatment.
Yeah.
But if you experience in dealing with people and diffusing situation, you will know what to do as an entrepreneur when that time comes.
Right.
I've had to deal with that stuff like that on the spot. I've had to deal with stuff like that via phone. The different ways that we do things. For example, my business, I have points. The situation where you didn't get your smoothie quick enough. I say, cool, man. I give you some loyalty points, but you know how to fix certain things, right? As far as advice, I'm gonna give a general business advice.
Right.
And the general business advice is, I believe, especially that limits are your friend.
Okay.
I believe when there's no limit to what you can do, then you're not gonna focus on anything. Limits encourage creativity.
Yeah.
It's something that can be done. You reach that point, you're gonna find some creativity to get around, and that might just be the birth of something
new. Yeah.
I'm gonna give a specific advice to the music industry, which I give every single person.
Artist. Okay.
Simple. 3 things I'm gonna tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Music. Love the music. Learn the business. Outsmart the industry. And I'm gonna use 3 examples. Love the music like how you love yourself.
Right.
Learn the business like how Jay-Z learned the business. And outsmart the business like how Michael Jackson outsmart the business. You can't get better than that.
Wonderful.
That's it, right?
All right, thank you. And Storm, can you tell us what value do you place on customer service and give advice to any young person looking on?
I think customer service is a crucial part of every business, even if you're a B2B business. The customer is not always right. Sometimes I guess you have to design your customer service chain, so to speak, in a way that when you encounter difficult customers, there's a way to, let's say, neutralize that difficulty. But if you get you should be open to feedback, because customers are the most important part of your business. They vote with their feet. They could go somewhere else. So it's always important to take care of your employees, and they will take care of your customers. I agree with that, but also make sure that your customer feels satisfied and you always give them value.
Yeah. All right. So any advice to?
Oh, and advice, definitely. Or what I was saying, I'm a big supporter of learning and educating yourself about business. Mm-hmm. So read books, listen to the interviews, find out, try and find a mentor from afar. If, for instance, Bill Gates, he releases a list of books every year that he likes to read. So I like to follow success in that way. And I also would say that, network, plan what you're doing. It's always good to have a plan. It may not stand up to events around you, kind of like the situation the world is in now, but at least you have a plan, and you should try and have a plan B as well. So that'll be my advice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of another episode of On the Spot. Thank you for staying with us. I am your host, Vakisha John. Let me just say thank you again to our sponsors, Digicel, for all your mobile and internet needs. Thank you to District Stairs for exquisite stairs, whether you need it for your homes or your business. Thank you for St. Vincent Brewery. Thank you to St. Vincent Brewery Limited. Remember to hold your own, either with a Hyroon soft or a Hyroon bear. Thank you to Aldine's Cosmetics and Beauty Salon. My face, my makeup was done by her. And we also say thank you to ANN and IKTV. On behalf of all of us here, we wish you a wonderful day. Entrepreneurs, we advise that you collaborate with each other, have a passion, love what you do, network, and never give up. See you next week, Sunday, right here at 2 p.m. Hello everyone, my name is Vakisha John, and I will be your host for the informative and exciting program On the Spot, brought to you by Asworth News Network and IKTV. Look forward to our live streaming every Sunday at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. See you soon. During our live discussions, you can expect us to tackle issues in sports, mental health, youth and politics, entrepreneurship. We will also speak about the effects of the pandemic and how we move forward as a nation. Expect us to talk about our heritage, Hairuna and its history, land of the blessed, and anything that can affect us as a people, as a Vincentian society. We will be serving you food for thought. Our panelists will inform you on the topics that we will discuss, as they're experts in their field. They're knowledgeable and experienced, and bonus, they're Vincentians. However, it is important that we hear from you, our audience. Feel free to submit your questions to Asworth News Network Facebook page and to the IKTV Facebook page beforehand, or in the event that you feel the need to submit your questions during the live, feel free to leave your comments and we will get back to you. What's in store for you? Once you tune in to our live program every Sunday, you get a triangle of benefits. Here's how. You leave informed, you are eligible to win fabulous prizes every week, and you also get to see unique products and services offered by our sponsors. Don't miss out. Don't forget to follow Asworth News Network ANN on Facebook or its website annsvg.com for your latest news on sports and current affairs. Also, be sure to tune in to IKTV channel 112 to satisfy your craving for entertainment. Be sure to also like and follow their Facebook page, IKTV. Don't you miss out. See you soon.
Live for free, drink for free.
Drive for free, talk for free with Hyrule. You can win it all.
That's right. Free beer, free rent, free utilities, groceries, and fuel.
Check the bar for your 3 for 10. Look under your crown and win. Everything is rent, free. Utilities, groceries, fuel. You can win it all. Yeah.
Enjoy Ice Cold Hyrule 3 for 10 and check under the crown for the Live Up stamp and win a $200 cash voucher instantly.
Hyrule, everything is free.
There's over $100,000 in prizes to be won. Rise up S3G and win with Hyrule. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends August 15th. Must be 18 and older. Please drink responsibly.
Eldorado Super Bingo. Bingo tickets play for opportunity to win US $25,000 on Sunday, 29th August 2021. Beginning at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. 13 chances to win. 6 US $1,000 cash prizes. 4 $2,000 US cash prizes. 3,000 US cash prizes. And 1 5,000 US cash prize. Games will be played on www.bingomaker.com. Login and access information would be provided upon purchase. Proceeds from this event goes towards a worthy cause. August 29th, Eldorado Super Bingo.
My Digicel presents Hit by a How-To. Here is how you can purchase a plan in the My Digicel app and get instant access to all of our apps. It's simple. Let me show you how. From your home screen, find the plans and bundles icon in the lower left corner of your screen. Tap it to see your available plans and bundles. You can choose between a Prime bundle with data and talk or pick a plan from the Available Plans tab. Find the plan that's best for you. Then hit confirm and you're ready to go. With your new plan, you may have access to more of our apps. Find them in the More from Digicel section and hit download for each of our new apps. You can also upgrade your current plan or bundle under the Active Plans section of your homepage. Excited to try it out? Download the My Digicel app today. My Digicel, better together.
Isn't it good to know that no matter where you are, you're covered? Covered by a company owned by Vincentions that understands your unique insurance needs. At Metrosint General Insurance Company, we've invested 50 years of service to guarantee that you have the peace of mind that you deserve. When it comes to motor vehicle, property, employer's liability, business insurance, and much more, we've got you covered. Our professional and friendly staff understands your needs and ensures you understand your options. Metrosint General Insurance Company.